So if you've been anywhere near the financial news lately, you just can't miss the headlines. Gold and silver prices, they aren't just climbing, they are absolutely exploding. We're talking about a kind of surge that has investors, analysts, and heck, even entire countries scrambling to figure out what in the world is going on. And just to put this into perspective, get this. Gold has completely shattered every single record we've ever seen, blowing past the incredible milestone of $4,000 an ounce. This isn't just another new high, it's a totally new reality for the world's most famous precious metal. But as wild as gold's rally is, its little brother, silver, is actually stealing the show. Silver has skyrocketed up an amazing 75% in the same amount of time. And that massive outperformance, well, that's a huge part of the puzzle we're going to solve today. Which, of course, brings us to the big question. What is going on here? Is this just some speculative bubble that's about to burst? Or are we looking at a fundamental, permanent shift in the global economy? What on earth is behind this precious metals mania? Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the jaw-dropping numbers. Then, we'll dive into what I'm calling a perfect global storm of factors. We're also going to uncover silver's secret weapon, you could say, in the Green Revolution. After that, we'll zoom in on the huge role India is playing. And then finally, we'll try to answer that big question. Is this whole thing a bubble, or is it the new normal? All right, let's jump in. Section 1. Let's really get a handle on just how historic these price moves are, especially when we look at one of the world's biggest markets. To really get the scale of this, you have to look at a place like India, which is a massive global consumer. Since the beginning of 2024, gold prices there have leaped 90%. But look at silver. It's in a completely different ballpark, up an incredible 109%. These aren't just market moves. This is a seismic shift happening right before our eyes. So what's causing this? The answer isn't just one single thing. As we're about to see in Section 2, we're looking at a perfect storm. 3 huge global forces all coming together at the exact same time, pushing in the exact same direction. Okay, let's dive into this. The 3 forces are: number 1, massive, relentless buying from the world's central banks. 2, rising geopolitical tensions that have investors running for safety. And 3, a major shift in global monetary policy. You know, any one of these could move the market on its own, but all 3 happening at once, that's what's creating this explosive rally. So first up, the central banks. They are on an absolute gold buying spree. They're on track to snap up around 900 tons in 2025 alone. And this is the 4th year in a row of these huge purchases. China is leading the pack here, adding to its gold reserves for 11 straight months. I mean, this isn't just regular folks buying. These are entire nations building a structural price floor under the market. And you might be asking, why are they doing this? Well, it's all about a strategy called de-dollarization. Simply put, countries are trying to rely less on the US dollar. In a world with more sanctions and trade fights, holding a ton of dollars feels risky. So for these countries, buying physical gold is like taking out a massive economic insurance policy. And it signals a huge shift in the global balance of power. The second driver is just plain old uncertainty. From the escalating conflict in Ukraine to all the tensions in the Middle East and the ongoing trade disputes between the US and China, the world just feels a lot more unstable. And in times like these, investors do what they've always done. They run for cover. And gold and silver are the ultimate safe haven assets. And the third piece of this puzzle is monetary policy. You see, the US dollar has been getting weaker, which makes gold and silver cheaper for anyone buying with other currencies. That alone boosts demand. But on top of that, everyone is expecting interest rate cuts. That makes holding something like gold, which doesn't pay any interest, way more attractive. It's basically pure rocket fuel for prices. Okay, now let's pivot to what might be the most fascinating part of this whole story: silver. In Section 3, we're going to see how silver's incredible performance is being driven by something absolutely essential to our planet's future: the green energy revolution. So while we usually think of silver as, coins or jewelry, its main use is actually industrial. And that industrial demand is just, well, it's exploding. It hit a record 680 million ounces in 2024. And the forecast for 2025 shows another massive jump. And here is the engine behind that growth. Look at this. Solar panels are expected to eat up over 200 million ounces of silver in 2025. You see, silver is a vital component in photovoltaic cells. So as the world scrambles to build more solar farms and switch to electric vehicles, which also use silver, by the way, that industrial demand is just going through the roof. So here's the crucial point. This surging demand is slamming headfirst into a huge supply problem. The silver market has been in a deficit, meaning we're using more than we're mining for 5 years straight. And because about 75% of all silver is actually a byproduct of mining for other metals like copper and zinc, miners can't just flip a switch and make more. It's a classic structural price squeeze. So we've seen the big global trends, but how does all this actually play out on the ground? In Section 4, we're going to zoom right into India, one of the world's most important precious metals markets, to find out. Now, you'd think that record high prices would scare buyers away, right? Nope. During India's recent Dhanteras festival, sales were just staggering. They hit the equivalent of over 12 billion US dollars. That's a 25% increase from the year before. It just proves that the cultural and investment appeal is incredibly powerful, even at these prices. But what's really fascinating here is the change in why people are buying. They're shifting away from jewelry and are now laser-focused on coins and bars, purely for investment. And silver is the real star, with coin sales jumping 35 to 40%. It's a clear signal that people are viewing these metals simply as a way to store their wealth. And that brings us to our final section. We've looked at the numbers, the global drivers, silver's unique story, and the view from India. Now it's time to put it all together and try to answer that big question. Is this a bubble or is this a new reality? So when you recap all the evidence, the things driving this rally, they don't seem speculative. They seem structural and long-term. You've got central banks changing how they hold their reserves. You have geopolitical risk that isn't going away. You've got loose monetary policy. And for silver, you have the green energy transition creating huge, non-negotiable demand against a supply that just can't keep up. Which leads us right back here. With all these deep, long-term forces at play, does this really look like a temporary speculative fever? Or are we actually witnessing a permanent repricing of these metals based on a whole new set of global realities? Because ultimately, what this whole 2025 rally is showing us is that this isn't just a simple story about price charts. It's a much bigger story. It's about the shifting tectonic plates of global power, it's about the future of money itself, and it's about the massive industrial changes needed for our planet's future. And all of those stories are converging and being reflected in the price of two of Earth's most ancient metals.